There was a time when Bill Gates was just a college dropout with a wild idea that personal computers would be in every home, on every desk. Today he's one of the richest people in the world, with a lifestyle to match. This video takes you inside the billionaire world of Bill Gates. The homes, the habits, the money, and everything in between. Bill Gates has the kind of schedule you wouldn't guess if you only looked at his bank account. For someone who spent decades at the top of the tech world, his mornings are surprisingly low-key. He's talked about how he reads for at least an hour early morning. Sometimes non-fiction, sometimes science, and often books about global health or history. It's not for show either. He keeps track of what he reads and shares his thoughts on his blog Gates Notes, which feels more like a personal journal than a billionaire's PR platform. What's funny is how casual the rest of his routine is. Gates has said he starts his day with a bowl of Cocoa Puffs, and he's been known to drink several Diet Cokes a day. He once joked that it's about 3 or 4, not counting the occasional orange soda. No green juice, no complicated meal plans, no personal chef hovering over a custom breakfast menu. He also doesn't obsess over exercise the way some billionaires do. You won't find him posting gym selfies or marathon training schedules. Instead, he has mentioned using a treadmill while watching video lectures, something he says helps him think better. It's more functional than flashy. Gates is focused, sure, but his daily habits feel more grounded than glamorized. In a world where people like to make morning routines sound like life hacks, his comes off more like something anyone could actually do. Bill Gates' main home isn't just big, it's built to think, sitting on the edge of Lake Washington in Medina. The mansion took several years to finish and ended up costing over $60 million. Today it's estimated to be worth more than $130 million. He calls it Xanadu 2.0, a quiet nod to the fictional estate in Citizen Kane. The Gates version is less about access and more about design and control. Inside, there's a 60-foot swimming pool with an underwater speaker system. Yes, music plays while you swim. And a massive library with a domed ceiling and a hidden bookcase door. He even has a notebook by Leonardo da Vinci displayed there, which he bought for $30.8 million. What's most interesting though is how the house works. Guests wear electronic pins when they visit, which sync with sensors throughout the home. As you move from room to room, the lighting, temperature, and even art on the walls adjust to your preferences. It's the kind of setup that sounds like science fiction, but works in real life because Gates had the money and patience to make it happen. The property also has a theater, a trampoline room with a 20-foot ceiling, and enough space to host 200 people in one sitting. It's not loud or flashy from the outside, almost hidden in the hillside, but inside it's a controlled, personalized world designed around how Gates lives, thinks, and unwinds. But for someone like Gates, one home is never enough. Bill Gates isn't loud about his real estate, but the properties speak for themselves. Most people know about Xanadu 2.0, his main home in Medina, Washington, but that's just one piece of the picture. In 2020, he bought a beachfront estate in Del Mar, California for $43 million. The place has 6 bedrooms, ocean views, and a design that leans more into comfort than flash. It's not oversized for the sake of it, just private, well-built, and in a place where the sun shows up more than Seattle rain. But the bigger story is what he's doing behind the scenes. Through his private firm Cascade Investment, Gates has taken positions in high-end properties around the world. He's invested heavily in the Four Seasons hotel chain, both the company itself and specific locations. That means while other people are booking rooms, Gates is cashing in on their stays. He's also put money into large-scale land investments across the US, buying up tens of thousands of acres of farmland in places like Illinois, Louisiana, and Arkansas. It's not about flipping houses or short-term profits. Gates plays the long game. Owning land, especially farmland, is a steady and strategic move. Then there's the ranch in Wyoming, a different kind of asset, but still part of that mix of privacy, utility, and long-term value. It's not the kind of real estate portfolio that makes headlines every month, but that's the point. Gates isn't chasing trends, he's buying things that last. Bill Gates flies private and he doesn't hide it. His jet of choice is Bombardier BG700 Global Express, a long-range business jet that typically costs around $40 million. It's not the only one he's owned. His collection has included multiple planes over the years, all under a company called Challenger Administration LLC, which manages his air travel. For someone constantly moving between conferences, foundation meetings, and quiet getaways, commercial flights don't cut it. He's got the schedule and the security concerns that make private air travel more of a necessity than a luxury. That said, his use of private jets hasn't gone unnoticed. Gates has been called out for promoting climate solutions while flying in one of the most carbon-heavy ways possible. His response has been consistent. He acknowledges the contradiction but says he offsets his carbon footprint by investing in clean energy projects and funding carbon removal startups. It's not perfect, but it's also not empty talk. He's spent millions backing companies that work on everything from sustainable fuels to direct air capture. When he travels, especially for international speaking events or global health summits, he doesn't go solo. There's usually a team with him, security, advisors, sometimes family, depending on the situation. It's a mobile command center more than a joyride. Even his jet has been described more as functional than flashy. No gold-plated finishes or champagne fountains, just speed, reliability, and privacy. Exactly what someone with Gates' responsibilities would want at 40,000 feet. Speaking of clean energy, Gates has put a serious amount of money behind it. Bill Gates isn't new to climate work. He's been putting real money behind it for years. In 2015, he launched Breakthrough Energy, a fund that started with $1 billion but has since grown as more investors came on board. It's not just about writing checks. Gates is looking for companies trying to solve the big energy problems, not just the trendy ones. He's backed QuantumScape, which is trying to replace standard lithium-ion batteries with a solid-state version that could make electric vehicles more efficient and cheaper to produce. That's not something you fix overnight, but Gates seems fine with the long wait if it leads to real results. Then there is TerraPower, a nuclear energy company he helped start. While the word nuclear still makes people nervous, Gates believes it has a role to play in a zero-carbon future, especially in countries where solar and wind aren't consistent enough. TerraPower's reactors are smaller, safer, and built to handle modern energy demands without the same risks or waste issues older plants had. He is also not shy about using his platform. He has written books like How to Avoid a Climate Disaster, spoken at forums like COP26, and met with world leaders to push for stronger climate funding. But for Gates, it always comes back to the tech. He puts his money into ideas that could actually scale, not just sound good on paper. He's not just betting on one fix. He's spreading it across companies that could reshape how the world powers itself. It surprised a lot of people when they found out Bill Gates is the biggest private farmland owner in the US as of 2021. He controlled about 270,000 acres spread across 19 states. That's not a typo. He owns lands in places like Louisiana, Nebraska, and Washington, and it's all managed through Cascade Investment, the same firm that handles much of his personal fortune. Cottonwood AG, a subsidiary, oversees the actual farmland operations. Naturally, people had questions. Some worried he was trying to monopolize food production or push some kind of hidden agenda. But when someone asked him directly during a Reddit AMA, Gates answered plainly. He sees farmland as a stable investment that also plays into food security and sustainable agriculture. He didn't offer some grand plan, just a logical reason tied to long-term thinking. And honestly, it checks out. Farmland isn't flashy, but it's essential, and its value tends to grow over time. Unlike his tech background, this move was quiet, almost under the radar until media reports caught on. But it's not random. He's been funding research into crop investment and low-carbon farming methods for years. Owning the land gives him a different kind of access, one that fits within his focus on global health and food systems. It's not something you'd expect from a guy best known for Microsoft. But Gates isn't chasing headlines. It's a low-profile strategy with real-world impact. Of course, Gates isn't just investing in the future, he's also trying to fix the past. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has been Gates' main vehicle for giving since 2000, and it's moved real money. More than $70 billion committed so far. It's not charity in the form of big checks and photo ops. Most of the work happens quietly, across long timelines and complex partnerships. In Africa and parts of Asia, the foundation has funded efforts to distribute mosquito nets, support local health workers, and roll out treatments that actually lower malaria causes, not just talk about it. In the US, they've pushed for education reform by funding data systems, training and programs meant to close the gap for underserved students. The foundation also became one of the biggest players in global vaccine distribution. During the COVID-19 pandemic, they worked with Gavi and other partners to help make vaccines accessible in low-income countries, far from the media spotlight. In 2010, Gates teamed up with Warren Buffett to create the Giving Pledge, a public promise from billionaires to give away the majority of their wealth. Some joined, others didn't, but Gates made it clear. He's planning to give away nearly everything. That includes the bulk of his Microsoft fortune, which even after all these years still grows through investments managed by Cascade. It's not always flashy or easy to track, but the scope is huge. Whether it's toilets in India that don't require sewage systems or AI tools for disease modeling, the foundation keeps pushing forward, and Gates keeps pushing it with his name and money behind the scenes. Bill Gates doesn't go for attention-grabbing buys just to show off, but when he does spend, it usually tells you something about what he values. Back in 1994, he bought the Codex Leicester for $30.8 million. It's a 500-year-old notebook filled with sketches and observations from Leonardo da Vinci. Gates didn't just store it in a vault. He had the pages digitalized and shared parts of it with museums and the public. That's pretty on brand for a guy who's always leaned into science, learning, and long-term thinking. Then there is his car collection, which is modest by billionaire standard but carefully chosen. The Porsche 911 he drove during Microsoft's early years still gets mentioned in interviews. It wasn't flashy, it just ran fast, handled well, and reflected how he worked. Efficient and focused. He later added a Porsche 959, a rare model that had to get special clearance from US regulators to be driven legally. More recently, he's owned a Porsche Taycan, an all-electric sports car that shows where his interests have shifted, toward performance with a lower carbon footprint. Unlike Elon Musk's Cybertruck stunts or Jeff Bezos' super yacht buzz, Gates' personal stuff tends to stay in the background. He buys things that serve a purpose or reflect something specific about his thinking. The common thread: he's not collecting for the sake of it. Whether it's a centuries-old notebook or a precision-built machine, Gates is drawn to things built with care. For someone with more than $100 million to his name, Bill Gates keeps his downtime simple. He's been playing bridges for years and still gets in games with Warren Buffett. It's not just a casual hobby, he's competitive about it. They've even played in tournaments together. When he's not at the card table, Gates is reading. He works through around 50 books a year, and they're not quiet reads either. Think non-fiction titles like Factfulness or The Better Angels of Our Nature, the kind of books that unpack global trends or human behavior over centuries. He has also got a place in Lanai, Hawaii, a private island mostly owned by Larry Ellison, where he vacations with friends. The place is quite exclusive and hard to get to unless you're invited, which fits with how Gates tends to travel. Private but not performative. There's also tennis, which he still plays regularly, and late-night sessions of science fiction TV shows. He's mentioned watching The Expanse and The 100, which says a lot about what kind of stories keep his attention when he's not working on big-picture problems. The pattern is clear. Gates doesn't chase trends or luxury for its own sake. Even with access to just about anything, he sticks to things that keep him mentally engaged. It's not about being low maintenance, it's more that he's found comfort in habits that feel normal, even if his life isn't. That consistency is part of what makes him hard to copy, even if you had the money. Bill Gates doesn't fit the billionaire stereotype people are used to seeing. He's not launching rockets like Jeff Bezos or buying 400-foot yachts with helipads. Bezos is leaning hard into space tourism and ultra-luxury, while Gates seemed more interested in farmland, public health, and quiet places where he can read. It's not that one approach is better, just different priorities. Compared to Elon Musk, Gates is almost invisible in the public drama. Musk tweets daily, inserts himself into every part of his companies, and constantly shifts the conversation. Gates, on the other hand, hasn't run Microsoft since 2008 and stepped down from the board in 2020. He's more of a strategist now, choosing where to get involved, whether it's global health, pandemic prevention, or sustainable energy. The attention he gets usually comes from his work, not his words. Even Warren Buffett, one of Gates' closest friends, has a very different style. Buffett lives in the same Nebraska home he bought in the 1950s and avoids the kind of tech-driven spending Gates leans into. Gates isn't flashy, but he's not shy about using his money either. He flies private, owns rare books, and lives in a tech-heavy $130 million home. But it never feels like he's chasing anyone or trying to one-up another billionaire. His life is shaped by curiosity and structure, not showmanship. He doesn't try to dominate every conversation. He just stays in his lane and handles his business quietly. But even someone like Gates didn't build this life alone. Bill Gates has always kept smart, steady people close. Steve Ballmer, who took over Microsoft after him, wasn't just a colleague. They were friends long before either of them had stock options. Warren Buffett has been even more constant, offering advice, joining him in massive giving efforts, and playing bridge on weekends. After divorcing Melinda French Gates, they didn't go separate ways entirely. They still co-chair the Gates Foundation, showing that the work comes first. Gates doesn't collect acquaintances for show. These are people who influence real decisions, not just dinner conversations. It's less about fame and more about who he can build with, both financially and globally. Bill Gates doesn't just show up at conferences. He sits at tables where decisions get made. He's worked directly with the World Health Organization, the World Bank, and heads of state on global health, especially vaccine distribution and disease prevention. The Gates Foundation helped fund efforts during the Ebola crisis and played a major role in the COVID-19 response. He's also pushed for climate-friendly policies through breakthrough energy and backed educational tools like Khan Academy. Whether people agree with his approach or not, his footprint is everywhere. The scale of his involvement isn't just about money. It's about who listens when he talks. He's shifted from software to solutions, and that shift has pulled in governments, institutions, and billionaires alike. And after all the money, the houses, and the headlines, there's still one question that matters. Would you trade places with Bill Gates if you could? Leave your thoughts in the comments.